Calling all Misfits, I'm Bree.
And I'm Emma.
And this is
Buzzkill
YouTube. Hello again. Welcome back.
To another episode.
Of our YouTube videos.
YouTube murders.
YouTube murders.
Yeah, we're in the business of YouTube murders. I was gonna make a list of things that I wanted to discuss. Also, we
have a dog here.
Oh, this is
so
Poppy.
Don't mind her.
Dobby is this little body right here.
Oh, you can just see in the corner.
He's so cute. But anyway, recording studio has changed a little bit.
It has.
And I have the boots on still, so I cannot. My little toothpick leg. So anyway, we're stuck in my living room.
Which is fine. It's really working out. It doesn't matter. There's not much negative,
yeah.
Except for maybe sometimes it sounds more echoey.
Yeah. And the people that we live with have day jobs, so we really are. We're in a good place. Okay, yeah. Welcome back to another week and another episode and another moida.
Do you have any business that you want to go over in?
No. I guess not.
I don't either.
That's what I was saying. We should start making lists of what we want to talk about, because sometimes I'm like, sometimes after we finish recording, I'm like, oh shit, you know?
Sure.
But,
there was one thing that we want to talk about.
Yep. What's that?
Joseph Duncan.
Yeah. Okay.
Joseph Duncan.
Joseph Duncan is dead, and we are stoked about it.
Super stoked.
We are going to cover Joseph Duncan.
And we know it's in the States, but we're going to do it anyway.
He's in the States. We have a couple cases that we're going to make a, what's it called? Tribute? Exception.
Yeah.
Tribute. We're going to make an exception to our, so basically, obviously we're a crossing borders and boundaries for true crime, so we try to do all of our cases outside of the U.S. Besides the paranormal cases, which could literally be anywhere. I don't care. They could be in California or in Canada, whatever suits your fancy. But there are a couple that have either been requested or that we find to be super interesting, and one of them is Joseph Duncan. Anyway,
super interesting that are in the States.
And the Joseph Duncan case was really, really close to home.
Yes.
So
and it's cool that he just died. So I think that's it's a good reason to cover it because of that.
For those of you that don't know, Joseph Duncan is an American serial killer who had a good number, and don't look it up. Do me a favor and don't look it up, because
we'll cover it here soon. Whoa.
Our light said good night. Did it disconnect? Alexa, stop. Ew.
I didn't like that.
But anyway, back to the Joseph Duncan. He is an American serial killer. Like I said, I know that you're probably looking at Google right now, but try to shy away from that. I'm going to do the case. I just want to make sure, or we are going to do the case. We just want to make sure that we have every single thing covered, because I think it's owed to the community in which the victims were found
and killed.
Or abducted from. Anyway, regardless, he died. It's a good day. He died on Sunday. He had brain cancer. I've never smiled at brain cancer,
but for him, he deserved to
He actually
die.
refused all medical treatments and services and stuff like that. So I think it was pretty obvious to even him that he was a piece of shit. Anyway.
I hope so, at least, yeah.
Yeah, so that's exciting.
But I'm pretty sure that's it. I think that's the only thing that we talked about wanting to cover.
Yeah. Oh, and also after the last episode aired, we had a ton of people reach out for stickers.
We did. Thank you.
We sent them in the mail today. You're not gonna. Or today.
No, we sent them a few days ago, so you should have gotten, by this time that this releases, you should have them.
I can't do dates.
You can't.
No.
She always gets really confused.
Yep, I do. I'm like, so we're going to be publishing this today, and it's not today.
That's okay.
So it's fine. But anyway, those of you who reached out to ask for stickers.
Thank you, we love you.
We love you. Thank you.
And we are sending them to you.
Yeah, they're on their way in cute little envelopes.
That I bought for personal use that I thought would be good for this, so it works out.
Lots of things that we bought for personal use we found
used for
exactly. Yeah.
Are you ready? What are you gonna talk about?
Paranormal.
We talked about that last week.
Yeah, there's nothing else. I just wanted to make sure that we ran all the bases. Okay.
Yeah.
So today Sorry. I'm a slut for sparkling water. Okay, today we're going to talk about Styllou Christofi. I'm going to call her Styllou. Some people call her Styllou and some people call her Styllou. I think both of those sound wrong. I'm just kidding. So Styllou Christofi. And I want to start this off by saying I think we should start a new segment called Emma Only Does Cases That Are At Least 50 Years Old. Because I'm sensing a common thread between the cases I cover.
Yeah.
I mean, they're literally, it's like 1830, 1926.
Okay, the older ones are always, I feel like, more interesting though.
Because they're creepy as shit.
They're creepy, and I feel like there's like not necessarily a lot of stuff about, or, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a lot of information.
That's actually funny because in my notes I talk about that. So, anyway, I will say though, I am a sucker for old-timey murders, and that's why I'm just drawn to them.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, Murderpedia.
Shout out.
There's something about literally any year before 1960 that I'm just enamored with. Anyway, maybe it's just me. Brie, I know you do like a good murder from. Yes, it's like so, and a lot of the podcasts that we listen to, I love old timey murders.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Anyway.
And they do like a lot of old like back in the 1500s, and I'm like, cool.
Yeah. What? We're not going to talk about who's the woman that said let them eat cake? Marie Antoinette.
Uh-huh.
That'd be interesting. Anyway, one thing I like about
and then cut off their heads.
Yeah. Let them eat cake, and then wasn't she killed by a guillotine as well?
Probably that would be.
I don't know. All I know is one time I went to a Halloween party. I was like 11, and I went to a Halloween party dressed as Marie Antoinette.
So you had like the hair?
I did. I had a big hair, big wig on, and then a huge dress. And I have to say I was really proud of that Halloween costume, but it's funny because I never really knew
like the story.
Yeah, until
so
I was
were you just
way
screaming
older.
like, let them eat cake?
Yeah, I
the
was
whole
like,
party?
let them eat cake. Like literally, I'd be like, trick or treat, let them eat cake, and the parents were probably like, you know, like,
she's a murderer.
Why is she dressed as Marie Antoinette? Anyway, one thing about cases like this one and other old-timey cases, and especially cold cases that are decades old, is that there obviously wasn't a lot of technology, let alone a DNA database to compare DNA. So I like to, especially when cases like this are solved, I really like, it's just interesting to me. Anyway, I'm not discounting police and investigative efforts. I'm just saying that DNA
testing and stuff?
Well, their jobs must have been really, really difficult because we didn't have DNA or anything of the like until relatively recently,
right.
like the 90s.
When it was like really being used more?
When it was just like became a thing.
Sure,
you
right.
know?
Yeah. And you could actually like start testing it and get quicker results.
Yeah, and there's a huge, I mean, my fingerprints,
general, I guess, yeah.
My fingerprints are definitely in some kind of database, so. But it's just interesting. It's like, I don't know. Anyway, I like to think about that. So, buckle up, bitches, because shit's about to get wacky.
Love it. I love that.
Who am I? So I wasn't sure how to start this case because I feel like the pinnacle of it, or what people might know already about it, is only like half of the pie. So, it's really loud. So we still have the whole other half of this pie to uncover.
Right.
And finally, I decided to do things how I always do them, and start from the beginning. Because I feel like that's the most important, and you're going to know a lot more.
About the person.
And about the crimes. Yes. So, let go.
Oh, sorry. I didn't mean to punch you.
Today, she's fine. Today I am going to break down the female murderer, Styllou Christofi. Dun dun dun. Just kidding. I don't know what it is about female murderers, but it interests me so much. Because it's like, unfortunately, there's like this stigma that it has to be
a male.
Mm-hmm.
And it's
less
common.
Males.
It's less
exactly,
common.
Yeah.
So I find it extremely interesting too. I was texting Jack today saying that you were doing a female murderer, and I was like, I'm really excited because I think it's not as common, and therefore like, and a little bit crazier almost, like women are a little bit more
on the verge.
Yeah. So it's like, it's not cool, but it's cool to research a female murderer because they're not as common, and we've done a few of them actually, which is neat, and they always have the craziest shit.
Yes. So we're gonna get into it, which I want to bring you to a fun fact. Thanks to my criminal justice class.
I love that you have fun facts.
I know. I want to get a t-shirt that says fun fact. I really do. Jack. So 1 in 6 murders, so 16% of all murderers are women.
Oh.
Which is more than I ever would have thought.
Me too.
Mm-hmm. Insert Cardi B's "That's weird" quote. Have you heard that? That's weird. I hate how she says it, but it works. So anyway, you can stew on that for a sec, but I want to talk about one of that 16%, like I've mentioned now 3 times, Styllou Christofi, and how she got into the 16% of all murderers.
I really am sorry for Poppy. That's going to happen throughout the entire episode.
Yes.
The snorting.
It is. And for those of you listening to the podcast and not on the YouTube, if you hear any toy squeaks or snorting, it is my dog. It is not Brie. Anyway, so Styllou Christofi was born in Cyprus, which is an island in the Mediterranean.
Okay.
On December 15th, 1900.
Oh.
So, I know.
Real far back.
Real far back.
Let's go.
We're talking 120 years ago.
Yeah.
So, during this time, Cyprus was considered a British protectorate, which basically means that Cyprus was autonomous. It did everything essentially on its own, but still technically was considered a state under Great Britain.
Okay.
So when we were talking about this earlier, and I said, well, it's Cyprus, but it's under UK. It was essentially its own. The population is highly Greek.
Okay.
So, yeah, but I kind of love that. I would love to go to Cyprus, and I've heard a lot of people have visited there and think it's really, really wonderful.
Oh, cool.
Anyway, it's not pertinent information. I just thought it was another cool fun fact. So, anyway, Styllou was born in a tiny little village in Cyprus, and throughout her childhood, she received no formal education, leaving Styllou essentially illiterate.
Oh.
So she could like speak and stuff,
okay,
but
Poppy.
she wasn't.
Please stop.
She wasn't
She could
reading
speak
books
or writing.
or writing. Poppy.
So she was not reading or writing.
She was not reading or writing. She literally received no formal education. And this village, and I'll kind of get into this, but the village was like very old school, even for 1900.
So it was pretty
like,
common.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. No, she wasn't like some
the only
poor
child that didn't. Okay.
Exactly. Yeah. It was pretty common for especially girls in 1900.
Yeah.
They weren't getting educated. Yeah.
This is how you take care of the household.
Exactly. This is how you make and
have
board
babies.
children and feed the children, and you need to, and cook. So, Styllou was also from the village I was just saying, where issues among the villagers were taken care of, like, as a whole. So basically, if you got into an argument with a friend or family member, everyone pretty much knew about it.
Because it's super small.
It was so small. But this was just kind of the way it worked. Like, if you and I got into it, and I'll, again, break down this in a second. Actually, I'm going to say the ways that they dealt with these issues might not have been widely accepted outside the village, and some of the punishments villagers received were sometimes referred to as inappropriate.
Oh.
How this works is, if you and I got into a fight about something, whatever the fight was, you and I would fist fight. And whoever won the fist fight
won the argument. Let's go.
Yes.
Let's bring it back.
And it wasn't like you and I just fighting about where to go for dinner. Where are we going to get drinks? It's just really interesting because that was such a common practice. Like, it was like, you know, if you get into a fight with your significant other or a sibling or a friend or a family member, you just fight it out, and you usually did it in front of other villagers.
I wonder if that's like healthier, like get out the anger. Probably not. It's not healthier, but I wonder if like it resolved the conflict faster.
Is it healthier to
it's not healthy, obviously, but I feel like people get a lot of pent up anger and then they resent that person or XYZ, like, so it could lead to maybe less problems in the future.
Less drama.
Punched it out.
Probably just punch it out. Yeah, no, but here's the thing, like, my brother and I have gotten into plenty of arguments, and if we fought, I would probably be dead.
Right, that would suck, right? That wouldn't be
I'm like glad, Hold on to what I just said.
Okay.
About the way that they handle things. Just hold on to it. So, Styllou married another local villager, and the two had a son named Stavros, which I don't like, but I also love the name. Stavros, it's just like very strong, but I probably wouldn't name my child Stavros.
I'm just imagining having an argument with a child now. Like a 6-year-old talking back to mom.
Fucking hit me! Hit me then!
Okay, Stavros.
Anyway,
no, cool. It's a cool name.
Stavros. It also reminds me a little bit of Stamos. So, like John
Stamos.
So, yeah, she married another local villager. Like I said, they had Stavros. Now, the small family really struggled financially, and their only source of income was from a small olive grove that they owned.
Okay.
And it's said that Styllou married one of the poorest men in the village.
Oh.
So she wasn't, which, like, whatever, love is love,
yeah.
but she, yeah.
It was just noted that he was...
he was very poor, and again, it's 1900, so the man is supposed to, you're supposed to marry up, and you're supposed to marry, whatever, but anyway, during this time, only a short time after the two married, Styllou's mother-in-law came to live with them. Now, I'll remind you that this is now the 1920s in Cyprus. Now, life wasn't easy or glamorous. It was a very working class village, at least, in Cyprus. But the stress of other finances and a baby, the eyes of her mother-in-law always watching, always defending her son, obviously created some issues. Styllou and her husband, who, by the way, I have no idea his name, and from what I gather, he wants to remain anonymous because of kind of what occurred afterward, but he was like, I mean, obviously not now, he's dead, but I did not find his name ever anywhere. So, just really quickly, this is her. This is the demon that's running around.
And she really wants this, but I keep taking it away from her.
Look at her.
Sorry, it was so mean. I'm so sorry. Here, you can have it.
Oh my god. Anyway, she's fine. So, how many times can I say so? Styllou and her husband started having some serious marital issues, and her husband's her mother-in-law was definitely not helping, and often stoked the fire that were their issues, unfortunately. Now, just like anyone, this really pissed Styllou off. And I get that. I think everyone does. In-laws are kind of a gamble, and when you marry someone whose in-laws suck or just don't like you, that can create, a lot of issues within the marriage, outside of the marriage, within yourself. I dated a guy for a bit whose mom and I really did not get along. We just didn't see eye to eye on a lot of different issues. And I'm not going to say, I was right, but I'm not going to say that.
Yeah, right.
I'm not going to say I was right, but I was. And it's like interesting because who doesn't get along with me? I'm kidding. That was really cocky. But my point is...
and adults like you.
Thank you. Looking back, obviously it worked for the best, but yeah, totally. I genuinely think she played a big part in our demise, which brings more emphasis to the fact that Styllou and her husband had a lot of issues because her mother-in-law was living there.
Especially if there's financial stuff too, and then on top of that, the mother-in-law is like being a bitch.
Totally. Yeah, right. So anyway, nobody came here to say, to listen to my ex-boyfriend's mom woes, but regardless, I'm just saying I get it at some level. Not to this level though.
Uh-oh.
One day, Styllou she just had enough. She reached a boiling point. She was in a big old fight with her husband, and her mother-in-law was not helping. So, Styllou heads into the village center and finds a couple of women around her age, basically coaxes them into helping with her with like, let's call it a project. Okay, so now it's Styllou, 2 other women, and I have a hard time calling them women because they're like 25, and I'm just about to turn 24 and you're 25, and I'm pretty sure that we're children. Like sometimes I'm like, no, I'm 17. Like I'm not 24 next month.
Mom, help me.
I live in my mom's basement. I'm like, Mom. Anyway, so her mother-in-law, Styllou's mother-in-law, is walking in front of the 3 women, and the 2 that Styllou had basically hired to do this take her mother-in-law and pin her to the ground. Like pin, like all 4
Like hold her down.
appendages in her head, like they hold her all down, and she's like absolutely terrified. She's like, what the fuck is happening? I'm sure she was like, I'm gonna get stabbed. She did not get stabbed. Let's talk about what happened to her. Meanwhile, while these 2 women are pinning Styllou's in-law to the ground, she lights the end of a stick on fire. And follows the women. And when I was reading this, and I watched a few documentaries, I was like, why is she like lighting, you know? And anyway, because I'd watched like 4 documentaries on this, 3 I think actually, but they walk in front of her and she lights the stick and she's like, you know, looking like, I'm gonna hurt you. You know how people do. So
intimidation. Once
her mother-in-law is flat on her back on the ground, Styllou approaches her. Now this woman's pleading for her life, like, no, I'm sorry, like, please don't hurt me, kind of screaming. She's really confused because I don't think that, you know, her and her mother-in-law had issues, but I don't think it was like fuck you issues.
Sure, yeah.
I think it was like passive, you know?
Or like, don't be mean to my son.
Right. Which I get. So anyway, she's lying flat on her back. Styllou approaches her, shoves the stick down her throat. I know.
I was expecting like, burned her with it. You know? Whoa. Hello, dog.
Bobby. Yeah, no. She shoves the burning stick into her mother-in-law's mouth. Keeps, and literally like, and when I say into her mouth, I should have wrote into her throat because she shoved it as far back as it would go.
Oh no.
And she burns
and it's
her
burning.
to
like
death.
It's on fire.
She dies.
From that?
Mm-hmm. That's how she died. She burned to death internally. Yes. I know. And it's like what? It's like a stick. It's like probably like that long and like that wide. So she lights it, shoves it, and she's like kind of stabbing it into her. And it's still, I mean, it's got to be hundreds of degrees all the way down until she dies. Like she literally.
Well, and I bet it broke, you know, like a lot of organ, or, you know, it probably like ripped through her esophagus and like
her trachea.
Yeah, and like down into it. So really, oh God.
But that's how she died. Literally 25 years old. Can you imagine?
And killed her mother-in-law like that. No.
Let's just take in-laws out of it for a second. Could you imagine
killing a woman like that? Another
killing
woman.
Anybody.
Or, sure, yes, anyone.
But especially another woman.
Yeah, no. And people have been mean to me and you, and an adult. I mean, like, I've gotten yelled at. I've been called a bitch. I would never shove a burning stick down their throat.
No. And like, my ex-boyfriend's mom and I obviously had issues. I would never physically. Hello, Dobby. Hi. You good boy? I would never stick a throat down her burning wood. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, this is the messiest YouTube we've ever done. It's fine.
It is fine. Smelly little.
Dobby is really, really, really cute, and his breath isn't great, but Poppy's cute, and she's an asshole. So I would trade Dobby's personality in a heartbeat. But okay, back to the reason you're all here.
Moida.
Moida. Moida. Moydah. That is foreshadowing to a t-shirt design.
Oh, I was like, she's already dead though. Like she did it.
You're like, no, she's
she
dead.
murdered it.
She
though.
is though.
Her.
It
murdered it.
So she burns her to death internally, and I mean, talk about his painful death, and talk about an angry person.
Seriously, yeah. You have to be really pissed, I feel like, to do that, to get to that level.
You have to be fucked up. You have to be like mentally not okay.
Yeah.
And I get that that's how the village, well, not murder, but I get that the village
kind of
practice exactly like physical fighting to work through issues, but
that's very aggressive.
I just feel like murder isn't the way.
Well, that's also probably not what they were. They weren't like, they're like, hey, with your fists, not with like a burning object.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And don't pin them down. That doesn't make it fair, because then they can't fight you back.
Exactly. Mm-hmm. And it has to be 1-on-1. It can't be 3-on-1.
Right.
So what happened after the murder of her mother-in-law? It's funny. I should ask that for you, because nothing. Literally nothing happened.
She get in trouble?
She did. She did go to trial, and she was arrested, but the women that I talked about earlier,
Mm-hmm.
vow of silence. Literally, they were just like, they'd be questioned and they were like, nothing. So, and that with a lack of physical evidence, because it's 1925.
Right.
She just walked.
So she said that she didn't do it?
Yeah, the women were like, oh no, they basically all covered for each other. And then they had this big vow of silence where they were like, yeah, I can't talk to you anymore. And then Styllou was like, yeah, I have no idea what you're talking about. I mean, it's my mother-in-law, sure. Was I in the area? Yeah, probably, but I didn't do it.
Damn.
And with what evidence? So
Rough.
this kind of leads me back to the whole, I'm grateful that DNA is such a big deal.
Yes.
So they all protected each other, and the courts decided, like I just said, that there wasn't enough damning evidence to charge Styllou, so they literally just were like, okay, well,
Poppy's
we're
fine.
pretty sure she's fine, whatever. She's just ingesting
Stuffing.
fiber. Yeah, fibers. So Styllou's husband dips the fuck out and leaves her as a single mother to their son Stavros. And I
Totally.
don't blame him.
I would take the kid though.
I think I would probably take the kid too. I don't know what that would look like back then
For
in
the safety though,
1925.
right? Like you killed my mom, I'm gonna take our son.
Oh yeah, that's a great point. Yeah, he didn't.
Yeah,
He literally, and it was like never seen again.
And voila.
And voila. I mean, he probably lived a great life after that. Maybe had some more kids. I don't know. But that's not how Styllou moved on with her life. So Styllou raises Stavros, and he actually turns out to be like a really good guy.
Oh, good.
He helped his mother and trained to be a server. And this is like a really big deal because it was just a big deal to be like trained as like a professional server. So this was a big deal for their family. After years of saving his money, he actually lands a job at Café de Paris in London as a server. And now, I don't know if anybody, I'm sure listeners might know that Café de Paris is, it's a high-end restaurant. And I read some, like in one place that it was a high-end, like, nightclub. I don't know that I necessarily believe that, but maybe that's the case. So he moves to London as a server after years of saving his money. So he works around the village, saves, and
good for him.
I know. And then so he moves to London to be a server, and then moves on to be a wine specialist.
How awesome.
I know, and I don't know if he ever became a sommelier, but that's the vibe I'm getting, because all it said was wine specialist, and that is essentially what a sommelier is. So
that'd be such a fun job. Drink wine all day.
Oh my gosh, I know, and serve
And judge it.
Serve like really rich people, and yeah. So I don't know if he knew the extent of his mother's past.
Oh, sure.
But I can't imagine if he did.
Well, if his dad wasn't a parent, like if his dad literally up and left, then like why would she ever tell him?
Well, he was a baby.
Right.
But I'm confused, or I guess I would stop to think like the village was tiny.
Well, you are right. So wouldn't they talk about it?
Maybe not.
Unless he was just like protective of his mom and was like, fuck y'all, that's not what happened. She said that he was shitty and they left her or whatever.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he said fuck y'all.
Fuck y'all.
She goes
Verbatim.
Fuck y'all. Anyway, so I'm not picking that up for you. Now I don't know, or excuse me, like I said, I can't imagine if he knew that his mom killed his grandmother, but I guess family blood is thick, so I'm just gonna leave it at that. Now, I will say if my mom killed someone, I'd assume it was for a damn good reason.
And I would have her back.
I'd be like, dude, yeah, I wish I was there. But who knows? Either way, he moves to London in hopes for a more fruitful life. While living in London, Stavros meets Hela, and it's spelled like Hella, Hella, but it's pronounced
cool.
Hela. Yeah, like hella cool. No, it's pronounced Hela. Hela is a German model and is absolutely beautiful.
Wow, that's
and
awesome.
I will post, obviously, pictures on our Instagram, but she was beautiful. And they met at the restaurant. Now, they both either worked at the restaurant or she was working at a boutique while Stavros worked at the restaurant. I believe that she helped at the restaurant, but mainly worked at this boutique. I could be wrong, but that's kind of what I came to the assumption as.
Okay.
So newlywed Stylla and Stavros moved to an area of London called Hampstead.
Okay.
The two had 3 children.
Oh, good for them.
I know. And I believe it was 2 boys and a girl. They're basically irrelevant, so I hope they're doing well. No. In 1953, okay, so she's 53 years old.
The mom.
Styllou comes to stay with her son and his family after not seeing him for 12 years.
Holy shit.
12 whole ass years.
Holy shit. Wait, how old is he? The kid?
By this point, he's probably, she was born in 1900 and I think she got married at 25 and killed her mother-in-law at 25. So he at this point was probably about 30.
Crazy.
Yeah.
That's a long time to not see your kid though, is what I like.
12 years. And your grandchildren, your 3 grandkids and your daughter-in-law. Granted, obviously she was extremely poor.
Right,
and I
so
don't
hard
think
to...
Yeah, and Stavros had his own family to take care of. So I unfortunately, well, both unfortunately and fortunately, I think that he couldn't
have great contact with her
and like afford to like bring her,
sure.
You know what I mean,
yeah.
and feed her for
why would you?
long.
I mean, yeah.
It had worked the way it was at this point. So all of the children, all of Stavros's 3 kids were young, but not young enough to be blind to the issues that Stylla and Styllou automatically had.
Oh.
Yes.
Oh no.
Styllou critiqued Stylla's parenting skills literally all the time and watched over her shoulder as she conducted her.
Because she's turning into the mother-in-law that she fucking killed.
Because here's the deal.
Rude.
Here's the deal that I think it's important, but it's also kind of difficult to like understand. Styllou was like always very matriarchal. Like she was the matriarch. That was it.
Right.
And that's kind of how it was. I mean, the mother is the matriarch, and then when that mother dies, it's the next mother, and you know what I mean? So she wasn't used to the modern way of living. I mean, we're talking 12 years after she had seen her son. In those 12 years, he had 3 kids. Like,
married, 3 kids,
and he's in a metropolitan area. He's in London, and she was in this teeny tiny little village. So I think it was culture shock. Totally. I think it was just a shock to her system in a lot of different ways. Unfortunately, I don't give a fuck what kind of shock it is. You don't do that. You don't just walk into someone's house and but be a cunt about it. I'm sorry,
no,
but it's like
seriously, yeah,
because that's like literally what she was. When I was watching one of the, I was just telling you about this earlier today. One of the documentaries that I watched on this. I laugh like I don't read. Watched on this was Deadly Women. And Deadly Women is so fucking cheesy. It's so goddamn cheesy. But it was really funny because one time in one of the scenes, Stylla was packing her daughter's overnight bag for a sleepover. And Styllou like walked in and she was like, I will not allow it. And then Stylla was like, I'm gonna do whatever I want to do. And this brings me to my next point, so it all ties in. She goes, evil woman, evil. And then Stylla like stops and like turns around and is like, you know, it was just really dramatic. And it was silly. I mean, I'm not saying.
Styllou called her evil?
Evil. Okay, this is why this is weird. Rude. You don't call, rude. I would never be like, Brie, you're evil. Oh my God, that's like deep. Like, that's like, that's like being like, you're ugly. You know, like, how do you come back from that?
You're evil.
You're evil.
To the core.
Second of all, super eerie because Styllou knew, like, very little English. Like, very little.
Okay.
Like, could not communicate with the family.
Except she knew evil.
But she knew evil.
Why? Yeah, why?
Evil. And I'm like, ugh. I'd be like, no. What are you talking about?
Get out of my house.
That's not the right word. Anyway, so I don't know. If you know like very, very, very basic English and just a few sentences, but you know the word fucking evil, like that's just, I don't know. Especially for the 1950s, I guess. So, anyway, Stylla tells Stavros, it's me or her, buddy. Like, either send her the fuck out of here.
Oh, good.
Or I am getting the fuck out of here and I'm taking my 3 children back to Germany. Because, I said that. Yeah, I said that's where she's from.
Mm-hmm.
So,
German model.
Right. Mind you, this went on for like a year.
She lived there for a year?
She lived there for a minute.
Mm-mm.
Or it was like December to February because she moved there in 53 and everything that happened in 54. So it's either 3 months or a whole year. Anyway, but she was there for a while. So major kudos to Hayla because I would have lost my mind like a lot earlier than that. I would have been like, yeah, I can't.
Yeah.
No, not with your mother. I'm not having her live with. And I have to say, I have a very, very, very good relationship with both my grandmother. I mean, my other grandmother lives in England, but my maternal grandmother I have a really good relationship with. However, I know that the way that she raised my mom and my aunts and uncle are different from the way that my mom raises me and Jack. And I don't think that there would be like major, cause my grandma's just like, yeah, I mean, my grandma's like, oh, that's just how you raise it, like whatever. But I know that the way that they raise people or raise their kids wouldn't be the same.
Yeah.
I just think there's a level of like respect. And I swear to God, if I have kids.
And your mom's like judging about.
And Jen, Michael's mom, is like,
oh, sure, yeah.
However, Jen is super like go with the flow on that kind of stuff because she already has a granddaughter.
Yeah.
And she's like, all I just want to do is hang out with the baby. I don't care. You know what I mean? Do what you're going to do. And my mom would be the same way. I think she trusts, it doesn't matter. I'm like getting pep talking myself. So on July 29th, Michael's birthday, love that. I told him that too. And he was like, cool. And I was like, really cool. On July 29th, 1954. Oh, by the way, I didn't add this. Stavros told Hayla, so when she said it's me or her and like you have to move her out of here or I'm moving out of here, Stavros was like, yeah, that's fair. I'm going to ask her to leave.
Oh, good.
So he basically goes up to his mom and he's like, look, you're creating a lot of issues and it's not worth it. So we need you to dip.
Bye.
And of course, Styllou was like, meh. But she finally agreed. Okay, so she said, okay, that's fine. I'll go back. Of course, after like guilt tripping him, she was like, I just want a relationship with you and I want to know my grandchildren and I want my grandchildren to be raised the right way. And Stavros is like, look, I haven't seen you in 12 years. I was raised with no father. Mm-hmm. I don't, I have to listen to my wife. And I will say, Hayla was a great mom. Like, super, super great, really pretty, of course, but really loved her children and really loved Stavros. They had a really great relationship up until Styllou moved in.
Got it.
So, July 29th, 1954. Stavros leaves the family home for an evening shift at the restaurant, and things were tense in the Christofi household. He goes to work. He's like, I'm leaving. Hayla's like, fuck, but okay.
I'm stuck here.
I'm stuck here with your mother-in-law, but fine. Hayla and Styllou were fighting like crazy, and Hayla was basically at her wit's end. But she wasn't the only one who reached a breaking point that evening.
Oh no.
So Hayla was basically like, get out of my face, don't talk about my kids, I can do this. Mm-hmm. So Hayla puts the kids to bed and was getting ready to hop in the shower. At least before she was blitzed by Styllou with a massive iron ash plate.
What?
Okay, so let's break that down. She puts her kids to bed. She's arguing with Styllou per usual. Puts the kids to bed. She's like, I'm gonna hop in the shower, then I'm gonna get into bed myself. She walks into the kitchen. Styllou is waiting behind a door, like right here. She's waiting behind a door with an iron ash plate. Okay, an iron ash plate is kind of like, it looks the same as like an iron skillet would. Okay. So like a big square. It's kind of shallow, but you can like probably like cook a pancake or two on there. Yeah.
And hits her?
Hayla walks into the kitchen to grab, I don't know, a glass of water or whatever. Styllou's hiding behind the wall. She walks through, past the wall, and she goes, bop, right on the back of her head. Okay.
What's up with this woman? That's crazy.
Okay, like,
just leave
like
the house.
What? Punch her, deck her.
Sure,
if that's what you want to do, deck her. You don't fucking hit her over
with
the head.
Iron, yeah.
And that's not even the worst of it. So let's just keep on. So She strikes Hayla in the back of the head as she walks into the kitchen. And unfortunately, this is really cowardly, in my opinion. You can't even fucking face her and be like, boom, you're... It's funny because I act like I've never been in a fight. Never been in a physical fight. I'm pretty much a wussy. However, if someone was like... If I felt the need, if I was so determined to hurt someone or to, like, really stand my ground, you'd...
In the front, yeah.
I mean, you don't smack him up. You're not even...
Back of the head.
That's pussy shit.
Yeah.
Anyway.
I agree.
So, face her if you hate her so much. That's what I wrote in my notes. Anyway, obviously, Hayla falls to the ground. Fun fact. We're gonna get that on a shirt, too. Fun fact. She totally could have died from a singular blow with this kind of weapon. Like, absolutely could have.
Absolutely.
Styllou wasn't strong enough to get enough... like momentum or leverage. Yeah.
Got it.
Which is like, okay. If you, let's say I was out to kill you, which won't happen, but I was like, I'm not going to stab you, I'm going to use a frying pan. If I went like, boom, you would be dead.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, there's no way that your skull wouldn't fracture and your brain would hemorrhage and all the things. But it just goes to show how fucking old and decrepit Styllou was. Sorry, I just got really angry. Styllou was in order to
not kill her.
Not be able
with
an iron. Anyway.
Yeah.
So Styllou, with Hayla on the ground, Styllou straddles her, grabs a silk scarf that I think actually belonged to Hayla. I don't know that for certain, but I believe it belonged to Hayla. Anyway, she grabs this silk scarf and strangles her, literally like looking at her. And the Deadly Woman scene of that is tense, but she strangles her, and that's how she kills her. What's weird about this, and anybody else who is studying this kind of stuff or is a super crime enthusiast, because I know you'll know what I'm saying once I start saying it. Mm-hmm. It's a very intimate way to kill someone. Like, you're literally like, I couldn't kill you that way.
Yeah, we've talked about that.
I would never be able to be like, you know.
Yeah, it's like very angry. Like, it's a lot of emotion. I feel like you would look into that person's eyes as you're taking their life away from them.
And that is like, well, yeah, that's like so dark.
Yeah,
so dark. So, okay. It's funny too because you just said that. So anyway, she literally watches the light go from her eyes.
Yeah.
Styllou, now this is going to be confusing. Somehow, she drags Hayla's body out to the backyard.
Okay.
Hayla was tall, had 3 kids, was beautiful, fit, but like obviously weighed more than Styllou. Styllou was like 5'0".
Sure.
Like she was this itty bitty little lady. But she somehow drags, and part of me is thinking, well, maybe she got so enraged or so much adrenaline that
she was like able to do it.
Yeah. So she drags her.
Or it took her a really long time.
Honestly, I would not be surprised. I mean, her grandkids,
right,
are asleep at this point. They're all in their rooms. They don't think anything's going wrong. And unfortunately, based on what had transpired, there wasn't a lot of sound. Like, there must have been a big dong when that happened. Yeah, and there wasn't, like, screaming or crying or, oh my God, help me. Nothing like that. So, she drags her body out to the backyard. No idea how, but she did it. Pours paraffin all over her body.
Okay.
Which is random. And loose pieces of paper, like note paper and scrap paper and... Scrap paper and newspaper. And then lights her up. Now, while Hayla's body is burning, Styllou cuts up the scarf that she had used to strangle her into 4 pieces. I don't know why she cut it up. She should just burned it, but whatever. But she cuts it up, throws 3 of the pieces into a trash can inside the house with some newspaper, and then burns the other piece with Hayla. Like I said, I have no idea what her thought process was on that one. So basically, drags her body, kind of stuffs newspaper and stuff like that under her body, douses her in a gas, lights her up, cuts up, like, I don't understand. I just like
just burn the whole scarf. The whole scarf.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm glad she did it, but we'll get to that. Now, at one point, a neighbor walking his dog, his name was John, it was something like John Smith. I didn't think it was super relevant, so I left out his name, but it was literally John, was walking his dog late that evening and sees Styllou stoking a fire in the backyard. And he thinks this is odd because A, it's late, B, she's by herself, C, he's burning a wax mannequin.
He thought that she was
It's
burning...
never a mannequin.
He thought that she was burning a mannequin?
Yep. It's never, I'm just going to tell you right now, it's never a mannequin.
As much as you want it to be a mannequin, it's not a mannequin.
It's not a mannequin. I mean, it's just not. So, and if you know anything, or if you listen to any
other podcasts,
other crime podcasts, you'll know it's not a fucking mannequin. It's never. So, regardless, he continues to walk his dog and forgets the whole thing happened. And he noted it as being like pretty weird, but
Sure.
he was like, whatever, like to each their own. I mean, my neighbors all the time have like brush fires or like, you know, little bonfires where they're burning extra wood. We live in a woody area. So, at 1 a.m., Styllou flags down a passing car and tells the driver, Mr. Burstoff, whose wife is in the passenger seat. They were just having dinner, driving, or maybe a late dinner, maybe dinner and drinks. And they were driving home, and she flags the car down. And I guess, like, kind of, like, got in front of it and was like, help me. And the Burstoffs were like, what? Okay, so this is what she says. You're fine. Yeah, is it really that boring? She tells the Burstoffs, quote, now, remember, not much English. Please come, fire burning, children sleeping.
Okay.
That's all she says.
So I think in the house.
Please come, fire burning, children sleeping. Me too.
Mm-hmm.
So Mr. Burstoff calls the police to, like, I guess, investigate what had happened. But after he goes to the house, he discovers that the fire is not, in fact, inside the house, but in the backyard. So he's like, what's the issue?
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's not like it's just like, I mean, maybe there's like fallen pieces of paper that are catching grass on fire, but it wasn't.
It wasn't going to catch the house on fire.
Right, it wasn't going to kill the children.
Right. So he's, or just wake up the kids if they're inside the house.
Right. So once police arrive, it's pretty clear that the fire was not an accident. Because they find Hayla's blood on the ground.
It's fine.
Okay.
Like dragged out of the house?
Literally
or like...
murder 101. No, I think just from the hit of her head. Oh, maybe. I don't know. It wasn't like a big trail, but it was like...
She didn't clean it
like
up?
A little splatter. But if you're going to murder someone, make sure you clean up. I mean,
especially if you're going to get someone else involved. You're like going to stop someone and they're going to enter your house or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Don't kill people, but if you are, don't be like Styllou. And chances are you're not going to get away from it with it anyway, so like let's just avoid murder all in itself. But anyway, they find blood on the ground, and while searching the house, they find the 3 cut up pieces of the silk scarf Styllou had used to kill Hayla.
Right.
Oh, also, this might be important. Hayla's charred body. She's just chilling in the backyard.
Sorry, that's not funny, but she didn't even let it do its thing and burn her all the way down.
That's what I was thinking. Like, I was like, okay, so if you're gonna burn someone, burn them all the way. Also, how did it not smell like burning flesh?
Right.
Or burning hair?
So you didn't just, she just burned her a little bit and was like, oh my God, weird.
Yeah, and then she later said to investigators that she was like, yeah, it must have been an accident. Oh my God. And it's like, okay, she's crazy. So,
I mean, yeah, the whole stick thing.
Well, right,
yeah.
Right. And she didn't shove a stick down Hayla's throat.
No, but to have already done that. Yeah.
Exactly. She's a little bit of a
crazy person.
Okay, yes. What's the fire one?
Oh, kleptomaniac. That's stealing.
She's a kleptomaniac. No. Arsonist.
There's another
pyromaniac.
Yeah, pyro. She's a pyromaniac.
Klepto. It's fine. Anyway, so Styllou says, oh my gosh, this was a terrible accident. Wow, how crazy. But how did her body just combust around newspaper and gas? I don't know. So, police then discover Hayla's wedding ring. Where did they discover it?
On her body?
No.
Oh.
That's what I would have thought too. So, I'm not married, but she took the ring off, folded it in some newspaper, and then set it on her dresser, like behind a vase. And so investigators were like looking through her room and were like, what the fuck is this? And they were like, and she was like, oh, I don't know.
Or she could have literally, because that's where I thought it was going to go. She was going to catch the body on fire, take off her ring, put it on the dresser, and be like, oh my God, she left you.
She's not that smart.
Yeah, apparently not.
She's actually a fucking idiot. Yeah. So, also, I really hope that nobody related to Styllou is listening because I have some shit to say after this. So, anyway, she takes the ring, so she strangles her, removes her wedding ring because, again, matriarch, there cannot be another woman closer to her son than her.
Yeah.
So she took off the wedding ring, folded it in some newspaper, same newspaper she used to burn Hayla. Okay.
It's fine.
And then set it behind a vase on her
That makes no sense
dresser.
to me.
Why do you want to keep it? Why would you keep it?
Why?
And where are you gonna go now?
And did you think that it was gonna take that, make that big of a difference if it was on her body or not? Like, they could still figure out who that was.
Stavros would have been like, oh, it was my mom. Easy. They
had the wife,
issues.
being burned.
Right,
yeah,
sorry.
Taking off the ring would be an identifier, I guess. But it's also it's already pretty obvious.
Yeah. Flush it down the toilet.
Way better idea.
Or don't kill people. I don't know. Anyway. At this point, it's pretty obvious what had happened, obviously. Right. And Styllou was quickly arrested. Now, after her arrest, she was immediately interviewed by a psychiatric doctor to decide whether or not she was mentally fit to stand trial.
Yeah, because that's a wild way to kill someone.
So I will throw in here that Styllou, during this time, stated that she was not insane, though her defense team did try to push a plea of insanity. So she was like, I am poor and I'm old, but I'm not crazy. And her defense team was like,
she's crazy.
No, you are, though. We need to say that you are. And she was like, I'm not, but okay.
Oh
yeah. It said, though, that it said that she was not mentally healthy, but could stand a trial. And that's what she did. So it was she's not great in the mental capacity, but she's
they're enough to be able to do a trial.
Exactly. And to know what she did was wrong.
Right.
So I think it's important to note here that the psychiatrist that examined her, Dr. Christofi, came to the conclusion that Styllou was not suffering from a major mental ailment, but was under delusion when she killed Hayla.
Okay.
So basically, Styllou was all crazed up.
Angry.
Right, because she thought her grandchildren would be raised poorly and would miss out on the Cypriot family traditions.
Okay.
Which Styllou deemed vital to their upbringing. So she basically was like, you are ruining my children's life, or my grandchildren's life.
Sure.
You are not raising them the way that they should be raised, and whatever. And honestly,
so my way to get rid of you is to kill you.
But why not talk to Stavros?
And say, hey, these are really important to the family. Why don't you?
Yeah, what about these family traditions? Oh, Mom, it's a modern age, and now that you've said something, maybe I will work on whatever.
Adding this in or whatever.
But killing the wife
isn't the right way to do it, especially because now he definitely is not going to add those in to the kids' lives.
Exactly. So.
Yeah, what?
I know. Trial began on October 28th, 1954 at the Old Bailey. I don't know what the fuck Old Bailey is, but that's all it said, the Old Bailey. Okay. Courthouse? I don't know. It took jurors 2 hours to come up with not guilty. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I was like, what?
With a guilty verdict. I'm sorry. So 2 hours, they came up with a guilty verdict, which Styllou did not contest. She was like, yeah, I killed someone. So Stavros, her son, had shunned her by this point and said that, quote, the word mother had become a mockery to him.
Rough.
Which is really, really, really sad because this poor, I think he was just shy of being middle-aged, didn't have his dad or his mom.
Right, lost his...
And his mom was a killer.
Never knew his dad, just lost his wife, and now his mom. Yeah, from his mom. Yeah. Oh, that sucks. Oh my God,
if my mom killed Michael or Michael killed my mom, I'd be so sad.
Right.
So sad.
Right.
Or if I killed Jen, Michael's mom.
Yeah.
I can't imagine.
Or Jen killed you. That's like what it is.
Oh, right. I'm all confused. If Jen killed me.
Yeah, Michael would be pissed.
Michael, yeah, I don't think Michael would be like, all right. Like,
cool, it's fine, Mom.
It's fine. Yeah.
I get it. No.
So, I want to throw in here that there was another murder during this time. Not by Styllou. There was another murder that had taken place by this time, also committed by a woman.
Oh.
But it's interesting because Styllou's case was like super not covered by the media.
Because of this case?
But this other woman's case was covered by the media.
Oh, how interesting.
Because she was said to be more glamorous.
The murderer.
So the murder itself was said to be more glamorous because the murderer was a pretty blonde nightclub host. Oh my gosh, Emma. A nightclub hostess, and Styllou was old, quote, unattractive, and crazy, at least in the public eye. So,
well, that's unfortunate because she still did kill someone, and the fact that they're like aimed at, once again, I always go back to this. It's like the Ted Bundy thing. Like Ted Bundy was Ted Bundy was at the same time as a lot of other murderers, and he was the one that they like focused on because he was more attractive and like women wanted to be around him and stuff like that.
I think during that time, Golden State Killer was still active, and
BTK.
the Green River Killer was active. BTK. Was the Night Stalker active? In California, though. 80s and 90s.
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure either, but
my point,
exactly, yeah. It is crazy.
Because a murder is a murder, regardless of who the murderer is.
And how glamorous.
Yeah.
But this woman, who I'll give you her name in a second. Anyway, her case got a lot more coverage, again, because Styllou was old, quote, unattractive, and crazy. So, Styllou was sentenced to death.
Good.
Yes. She was sentenced to death by hanging. Christofi was hanged, what?
I mean, specifically for this case, like, I feel like she deserves it.
What? Absolutely.
To be killed? Yeah.
She killed 2 women. Her daughter-in-law and her mother-in-law.
Yeah.
She was each of them at one point and killed them.
Yeah.
Like, that's insane to me. So, Styllou was hanged at Holloway Prison by Albert Pierre Point. And Albert Pierre Point served for like 30 years as the
executioner?
Thank you.
So he probably killed a lot of people.
He killed a lot of people.
It's actually kind of cool.
It is amazing.
Well,
I would love to know how desensitized he is.
He's like, hey, honey, after work.
Yeah, comes home for dinner and he's like, I hung a man today, or 7, God. She was hanged at Holloway Prison, like I said, on December 15th, hello, Dobby, 1954, making her the second to last woman to be hanged.
Oh, wow.
Yep. Second to last.
Was the other murderer the first? Last?
I don't know who the last one is. I should have looked it up, but I didn't. Also, fun fact. There hadn't been another woman hanged there in 30 years.
Oh, whoa.
30 years.
Wow. So
the last woman hanged was Edith Thompson in 1923 for killing her husband. Yep. I'm not going to go into that because it doesn't matter, but that's really all there is to say about it. Anyway, Styllou did request a Greek crucifix to be displayed in the cell where she was being held and at the place of her hanging, the gallows.
Okay.
Luckily for her, the prison obliged. So, Styllou lay in an unmarked grave for over 20 years. Like I said, her son was like, nope. So, she lay in an unmarked grave for 20 years before...
Understandably.
Dude, yeah.
Yeah.
Before a renovation of the cemetery, when her body was moved.
Okay.
The grave site was acquired by Renee, I'm going to say Weiss.
Okay.
And Audrey Russell, who actually interviewed Edith Thompson's sister.
Oh, cool.
Remember? So the last woman to be hanged.
Who killed her husband.
They interviewed her sister, these 2 people.
Neat.
Avis was her name. In the 1970s. In November of 1993, they put up a gray granite memorial on what was previously known as Plot 117 and dedicated it to the memory of the 4 women buried there. Okay. I don't know who the other 2 women are, but I just thought it was kind of fun to throw in.
But she was one of them.
Styllou and Edith were both in there. I don't know who the other 2 women are. Like, I didn't think it was important enough.
Yeah.
But I wanted to kind of throw in here really quickly. On the tombstone of Edith Thompson's and the 4 other women's
3.
But on the total 4
Sure.
women's tombstone, this was kind of directed for Edith, but kind of all for them. And I'm going to tell you the quote in a second, and it'll make sense. Okay, quote. "Sleep on, beloved. Her death was a legal formality."
I mean, yeah.
Right. So my assumption, because because I read this whole thing in like a bunch of different places, but none of them ever were like said this. But my assumption is that the 4 women buried there were
All
killed by hanging
Totally right.
because of
Whatever
their
they
crimes,
did. Yep,
which
totally.
were likely murder.
That's why I said the legal formality. Yeah.
"Sleep on, beloved. Her death was a legal formality." And it's like, yikes. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, so that was kind of given to Edith Thompson, and then the 3 other women that shared the gravesite with her are inscribed around the edges of the tombstone. So it's like, woman, Edith, Styllou, sleep on, beloved. Yeah. Anyway, crazy. Okay, W, I have to scroll through my notes now. Are you okay? All right. Styllou's okay. Now this is weird to me. Oh my God, he's so cute in the thing. Styllou's grandson, Tobias Christofi, who goes either by Tobias or Toby, is pushing for exoneration of his grandmother.
Why?
I don't know.
Why?
He claims that she was punished too harshly, especially considering her mental status.
Why? That's so dumb. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Tobias, because I know you're probably alive and probably around our age, but that's silly.
Oh, he's not around our age. He was in his 60s. He's a grandson. He's Stavros' son.
Yeah, but Styllou was born in the 1900s, right? Oh,
Yeah,
right.
he was 65.
He's probably my mom's age, or parents' age.
Yeah.
That's silly to me, considering she killed your mom, correct? Yep.
If it was on that side, I think.
Oh, sure, if it was on that side.
No, it would be
Yeah.
though. Yeah.
She killed your mom, and yes, maybe she shouldn't have been killed, I guess, maybe, but also like that was the way that was gonna happen. And she also killed
That's
another
how they did
woman
it in Cyprus.
Yeah, like, yes.
And in London. I mean, it's like, shit, what did she expect?
What did she expect? Did she think she was just gonna get away with it and that was it, like she did back in the day in the 1925 or whatever?
Yeah.
When she killed her mother-in-law.
So this obviously prompted experts to dig into
Her
Styllou's past.
Totally. And her mental health, I'm sure.
Absolutely. With Toby, I'm going to refer to him as
Sure.
Toby, finally getting some unsettling information based on a letter written in 1924, which was unearthed in the Cypriot archives. Anyway, I don't want to waste too much time on this, but the author of the letter told the woman
That she was writing to? Okay.
whoever it was that she was writing to, that her mother had been killed by her daughters-in-law and her neighbor.
Oh.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. So she was writing, that her mother died?
The author of the letter told the woman
Yes.
that the woman's mother had been killed
Oh, sad.
by her daughters-in-law.
So she's writing to the daughter of the other mother-in-law. So she's writing to the husband that we
Stavros'
don't.
dad's sister.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Stavros' dad's sister.
So
Yes.
Styllou's sister-in-law.
So Stavros' uncle. Sorry, aunt.
Right.
Oh, sad.
Yep. So obviously, basically the letter says this is what happened. The 3 perpetrators had barged into the victim's home and started brutally hitting her. I will say, I don't know whether it was a home or outside.
Right.
I told the story of it being outside.
I'm assuming it was probably outside, right?
Less
evidence,
Unfortunately, yeah, right. I was just going to say, I can't say either way, but I wanted to just say a quote. This is from the letter found in the Cypriot archives. Quote, "They took burning pieces of wood and put them in her mouth and down her throat." So there was a letter that was unearthed in the Cypriot archives, basically accusing Styllou's mother of murder. Okay, so, sorry, I don't know why I'm yelling.
So as well as Styllou's murderers.
Styllou killed 2 people. Okay,
and then her mom
Styllou
also.
aside,
Crazy.
Styllou's mother killed her husband with the help of her lover in 1911.
Crazy.
So, Styllou's born in 1900.
Mm-hmm.
1911, her mom
Killed her dad.
killed her dad with her boyfriend.
Got it.
Fast forward 14 years, Styllou kills her own mother-in-law.
Right.
And then, so basically, it's just this kind of train down. So that's essentially all that the letter had. I thought it was kind of interesting to...
so the letter talked about a previous murder, Styllou's murder of the mother-in-law, and about her own mother's murder. Wow, that's crazy.
And it just became, like, available to Toby, like, recent to the time. I don't know when he was interviewed, but...
So that, like, made it more...
Right, yeah.
Like, sorry, like, she just was a murderer.
So it's interesting because, like I said, about Cypriot, you know, villages and how they conducted issues.
Mm-hmm.
They often turned, obviously, you know, violent, but there would be what are called honor killings.
Okay.
So they would kill out of honor or respect to the religion
sure.
or whatever. So it's just a really, really interesting case. That's her. Excuse me. Yeah, and she's not an ugly woman. But when she got old, she got ugly. She got a big nose. So, but yeah, that's it.
Thanks for tuning into our case. That was a good one, Em.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I was like, when I started writing it, I was like, oh, is this going to be good enough? But I'm glad it was.
No, it was a good one. I think it's always interesting to hear about a woman killer. Also, the fact that she didn't kill again for another, like, 20 years is also interesting.
Insane. She moved to London just to kill again.
Yeah.
I always wonder about stuff like that. Like, if people...
Well, I could see why Toby would be like, there was a mental break in those moments. But she also seemed like she was alone in Cyprus. So maybe she, like, didn't have the motivation to kill or the need to kill. But where she felt like her matriarch was being threatened, she was like, fuck you.
Right.
You know what I mean? Because
Oh,
people
absolutely.
do that. People don't kill for years, and then once something is threatened in their life, they kill again.
That they seem as, like, a staple to
Right.
who they are as people.
Totally.
Anyway, I'm going to post the pictures on there because Hayla is a really pretty, and...
Her life was taken too soon.
Her son, that's them together,
Aw.
Stavros. It's like, I don't know why Getty Images is on there, but it's whatever. Yeah, so don't kill your mothers-in-law.
Or daughter-in-laws.
Exactly.
Daughters-in-law.
Daughters-in-law, yeah. But tune in.
To see pictures on our Instagram.
And next Sunday for a new case.
Oh, that too. On our Instagram at what?
Oh, right, Buzzkill Podcast.
Our email.
BuzzkillPodcast@gmail.com.
Our Facebook.
Buzzkill Podcast.
Our YouTube.
Buzzkill Podcast.
And our
Twitter.
website.
BuzzkillPodcast.com.
And our Twitter.
Buzzkill Pod.
Woohoo.
We love you.
We love you guys. Thank you for always being supportive.
Being supportive. Our 30 listeners. No, I'm just kidding.
Woo!
Woo! We have
Okay.
more than that.
Yeah.
But-
Thanks, guys.
Yay! Thank you. Have a great week.
Yes, Bye.